The Yonko are the 4 emperors of the New World. To become a Yonko, you have to think bigger than everyone else around you, and have the ambition to climb to the top of the pirate world. These are the dreams of every Yonko. Whitebeard. Whitebeard was one of the most powerful pirates to ever sail the seas, but with all his resources and power, he only ever cared about one thing: having a family. You see, Whitebeard grew up on Sphinx Island as an orphan, and Sphinx was an island that grew so poor they were kicked out of the member nations of the world government as they couldn't afford to pay the heavenly tribute. As he sets off to sea to become a pirate, he didn't really care about clout and riches. He just knew he wanted to eventually build up the family that he never had. It's clear that when he would later join the Rocks Pirates, that it was more like a group of individuals working together than it was a family, because when the going got tough, all the major players went their separate ways. After the Rocks Pirates disbanded, he could truly put all his focus into his actual dream, and started building up the crew that would go on to become his Yonko crew, the Whitebeard Pirates. He always viewed his crew as his children, and this doesn't shine through more than in the Marineford War arc, where he leaves it all out on the floor trying to free his son Ace from being executed by the Marines. He forgives Squirto's dumbass self for being tricked by Akainu and attacking him, and when Ace is freed, his mind is made up that he's going to take Marineford down into the sea along with himself, and in what he believes to be his final moments, all he wants to know is if he was a good father. Big Mom. Most of the emperors on this list have a dream not just because of something they love, but because of a deep desire spawned from a great trauma that they suffered from. Big Mom is no different, as while she wasn't an orphan initially, she became one when her parents gave her up by abandoning her on the island of giants, Elbaf. Here, she was brought up with other orphans under Mother Caramel. However, during her time there, her hunger pains very much rubbed the giants the wrong way. Not to mention, during one of her hunger pains, it's basically implied that she ate Mother Caramel and the other kids. When she returns to Elbaf, trying to set up one of her daughters with Prince Loki, which I will be expounding on in my next video about how Prince Loki of Elbaf is incredibly down bad, she worsens her relationship with the giants even more so, but throughout her life, she was bullied for being so much bigger than everyone else besides the giants. Thus, her dream is to have a way to make everyone into giants so that they can all sit at the table at the same eye level. Now, this dream is a little literal, when she really probably should just want equality for all, but it's not the worst dream out there. She recruits Caesar to give him a bunch of money towards this goal, which he decides to blow on some fun for himself, because he knows that what she's asking isn't even really feasible from a scientific standpoint. Although I think someone like Dr. Vegapunk would be able to crack this code. Big Mom kind of has a fixation on the different races of the One Piece world. She actually has a collection of people and creatures that her son Mondor keeps in a book with his Devil Fruit power, and then her actual crew and children are also full of people of different races too. I think that this plays into her dream of a kind of forced equality, because she wants to recreate that family that she had that was a mix of different people, where she's in the Mother Caramel role. Like most of the Yonko, besides Whitebeard, she wants the One Piece and to become the Pirate King, but like many others on this list, this is just a stepping stone to make her true dream come true. Kaido. Kaido is a person who's had several dreams, but one thing is for certain, he was born to wage war. He grew up in the Vodka Nation, a country which had to win wars and use the loot that they earned to pay the heavenly tribute to the government. A child Kaido was like their nuclear weapon, as he was a one-man wrecking crew. And when given the chance to sell Kaido to the government for a chance at a seat at the table at the Reverie, they take that chance with no hesitation. Later on, Kaido would also join the Rocks Pirates, where he would look up to his captain and have a high respect for his power. But here he learns the lesson of how having too many conquerors altogether can clash and not mesh well together at all. I believe, based on his conversations in his fight against Yamato, that he went through much betrayal in his life from humans and discrimination for being an Oni. So as he grows up, he decides to embrace the beast within. After he is captured by the government and he escapes Punk Hazard with King, he begins his own crew. A crew of beasts where strength will be the ultimate deciding factor. King also is the one who tells Kaido about Joy Boy, which becomes an obsession to him. Kaido, being as strong as he was, felt as though he could not be killed. In his introduction, we're told that he is looking for a place to die, as Whitebeard went out the quote-unquote right way, and he couldn't even kill himself jumping off of Sky Island. But as the story continues, we understand why Kaido wanted to die. because he believed that going out in a blaze of glory was the ultimate way to complete a man's story. This is why he admired Whitebeard's death. And this thought likely started with his former captain, Rocks, on God Valley as well. Also in his introduction, he says that he wants to have the greatest war the world has ever seen. Now, I don't think he was referring to the war that does eventually occur on Wano, but the war for the throne as the Pirate King, or even the final war that we will eventually get against the world government. But he wanted to get the One Piece and the ancient weapons to have for this war. Which makes sense because survival of the fittest is kind of what he's all about, but there was also a greater reason. At first, he wanted to prove that he himself was Joy Boy, but somewhere along this journey, he realized he wasn't. I think this is the reason he was truly depressed, because as great of a pirate as he was, even he wasn't the GOAT, or the man of prophecy. So his goal ultimately shifted. If he couldn't be Joy Boy, he would be the one that Joy Boy would have to face. This is why when he fought Luffy and finally had a challenge, he was certain that Luffy must have been the true Joy Boy. So Kaido was super disappointed when he knocked Luffy out and then thought that he wasn't Joy Boy anymore. Because if he couldn't be Joy Boy, he wanted to be a menace that only Joy Boy could stop and go out like the great pirates of legend. You see, then there's my dream of getting this channel to 1,000 subs by the end of this year. Right now, 99% of the people watching these videos are not subscribed, so you can help me reach this goal by subbing, joining the community that I'm building here, and liking the video so that it can be shared with others who might like it too. Buggy. Buggy is a pretty simple man. The man likes treasure. His introduction arc, Orangetown, is basically the arc that's based around treasure. There's also a flashback of him and Shanks as apprentices on the Pirate King's ship, where he finds a treasure map that Buggy ultimately blames Shanks for losing. But in Orangetown, he damn near directly says that he wants the One Piece and to be the Pirate King. Throughout the story, he's failed his way up the pirate ladder, from Pirate Captain to Warlord, and now an Emperor of the Seas. Is it out of the question that he could truly become the Pirate King? If we fast forward to the Egghead Island arc, we see Buggy reminisce on when he spoke to Shanks after Shanks had a change of heart on going after the One Piece. While Buggy states that his grudge with Shanks is because of him making Buggy lose a treasure map, this is the moment that really affected Buggy. His ambition was virtually stunted as he just focused on maintaining his small crew, but since the One Piece is close to being claimed by one of the Yonko, he now knows that he wants to be the pirate that claims the world's greatest treasure. And funny enough, Buggy might be the only one on this list whose main goal is really just to get the One Piece. Blackbeard. Blackbeard is one of the most mysterious pirates in all of One Piece. Somewhere along his rise, Whitebeard allowed Marshal D. Teach, aka Blackbeard, onto his crew. And Teach always had a grand ambition that he hid from his crewmates. Dark Luffy is basically Mr. Dreams anyway. As the first time we see him in the Jaya arc, it's clear that he's a big believer in following your ambition no matter how grand it is, which is ironic from the man that never sleeps. Blackbeard is clearly also influenced by Roxy Zebek, as he named his ship after him as the Saber of Zebek. He also took over Rox's old base of operations, Hachinosu. I also believe he built up his crew in a similar way, by grabbing up the strongest pirates he could find regardless of the chemistry between them, and it being set up more so like a big alliance than a true pirate crew. Blackbeard obviously cares about becoming Pirate King and finding the One Piece since he stole Law's road poneglyph rubbings, but I think that this is just a part of his larger plan. Currently, he is going to likely try to leverage Garp into turning Hachinosu into a recognized country of the world government, and I think he will also, similarly to Vegapunk York, want to be recognized as a celestial dragon, and eventually take the real seat on the throne as the next ruler of the world. This is the goal that Roxy Zebek had, and I think he and Blackbeard may both have already known about the fact that Emu exists. Emu is already aware of the D member Marshal D. Teach, so it's clear that they will cross paths. Shanks. Shanks is probably tied with Blackbeard for being the most mysterious current pirate, but with a closer look, Shanks' goal comes into focus. Back in the Orangetown arc, a young Shanks and Buggy chop it up while discussing what being a pirate means to them. Much like Whitebeard, Shanks wasn't fixated on treasure like the average pirate, or to the extreme in Buggy's case. Shanks was much more focused on the journey, the day-to-day life of being a pirate captain and traveling the world to see what hasn't been seen. But as you get older and experience more of that world, your dreams tend to change along with you. Similarly to Kaido, this is definitely the case for Shanks as well, because when he and Buggy stay back on the ship as the rest of the Roger pirates go to Laughtail and learn the secrets of Joy Boy and the One Piece, Roger returns and tells Shanks something that changes his whole mindset on going after the One Piece. I think it's the fact that they were all too early, and the person who would be able to do what Roger can't do wouldn't be Shanks, and it would actually be Roger's son. It's clear from what Buggy said in Egghead that Shanks had a complete change of heart at this point. Shanks would go on to build up his own crew, but at this point, his role had changed. He stole the Nika fruit from CP9, likely with the idea of giving it to Ace, but since Luffy is the one who eats it, he bets on that being fate, and places his bet on this child to become the new Joy Boy. That, and the fact that he had the same dream as his captain. So now Shanks' role was to build himself up even more so, and maintain the balance of power of the world until the time for this new Joy Boy would be ready. While I think Shanks' heart is actually pure and he truly wants to protect the growth of the next generation in general, I believe that Shanks ultimately had his own reasons for this as well. Shanks idolized Roger. He even used his fighting style of hockey-based sword fighting with no devil fruit and used the same move as him with divine departure. So why would Roger's original apprentice not want to be the one to carry on his will? While Shanks knew back then that there was no point in pursuing the One Piece, he knows that the situation is different now that Luffy has awakened the Nika fruit. For now, he can prove Roger wrong, and that he can be the one to claim the One Piece. Luffy. Luffy is one of the new emperors of the New World. You'd think that his dream is the easiest to name here, since damn near every arc he says he's the man who will be the one to become the king of the pirates. But in actuality, that's just one goal that Luffy has. What matters to Luffy is never really changed throughout the story. Luffy cares about his friends and loved ones and food. Damn near every One Piece arc, Luffy befriends someone on the island that the Strawhats are visiting and inherits their traumas and issues. Because he cares about them. He wants them to eat good like how he's eating good, and to be able to freely live the life they want, oppression free. This is why at the end of most arcs, Luffy has a giant celebration to break bread with his newfound friends. He doesn't care about being Joy Boy or bringing forth the dawn of a new world, he just wants to be able to eat good with the people he cares about. So I think the dream that he and Roger shared was just to be able to eat with all of the people of the world, since at the end of his fight with the Yonko Kaido asks Luffy what kind of world he wants to make, and Luffy says a world where his friends can eat as much as they want.